Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Yeah, I disappeared for a little bit there, and I'm guessing most of you can understand why. It's that dreaded time of year once again, the summer holidays, ladies and gentlemen. There are now people in government with more free time than I have, but que sera, it's the way it goes. I kind of told a lie to some of my Facebook subs the other day. I said, what was it? Not last weekend, the weekend before. I said, yeah, I will. I'm going out for a drink tonight, guys. And this weekend, after that, I will get a cast, at least one, out to you. And it was like one of the 2 or 3 times a year I get to go out for a drink with the guys. And yeah, suffice to say, I didn't drink responsibly. And I'm of that age now where you can't just like get drunk and have a hangover and then get on with stuff. No, your hangovers last half a week. That's just part and parcel of it. So nothing got done, and 2 weeks later, here we are. Yes, finally with a cast. So sorry about that, guys. But that is the way of things. I've got a couple of bits of information. There has been a balance patch released for FAF. I'm not going to talk about that because of the reasons we've already mentioned. I haven't had any chance to play around with any of that stuff. But there have been a few people kind of pissing and moaning about the content. All I would say, guys, is if you're really unhappy, you don't like the way something is going, then make your feelings heard. This is a community-led project, this whole FAF thing. So get on the forums, have a chat with the balance counselors and stuff, and put forward your points. And if they are reasonable, valid points, I'm sure they will be considered. And as we say, it is just a balance test patch. Nothing is confirmed yet for the main FAF mod, so don't get your knickers in the twist. Secondly, updates or adverts, little commercial from Speed 2, who's got in touch to say he's made some updates to his co-op mission. So of course we've got a update to Protheon 16, which was the one he was working on previously, featuring yours truly. Thank you very much. And also another one that sounds very cool, which is Fort Clark Assault, which is the first mission of the FA campaign, but from the Seraphim point of view. That sounds very funky indeed. Like to get myself some time so I can have a go on that. And there's a link, which if you want, I'll put it in the description below the video, which has the information to the change log. And if you have any problems hosting or any of that stuff, you can report it in that thread, and hopefully it'll get sorted out. And also, if you're interested, just give me a shout and I'll chuck you a link to his channel, Speed2's channel, where he's done a point of view run through of one of the missions, so you can take a look. As I say, if you want it, just let me know and I'll put it on there. But we've run out of time. I knew it was going to happen. There's too much stuff to fit in. That signals that I could shut up and get on with the game. It's Setons Day today here at Guilecast, because apparently they're people too, so we should represent. That's right. It's going to be a custom 4v4 as always. I'm ready. You guys are ready. And the players are sure as hell ready. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. Bazinga. There we go. Setons. We know what we're dealing with here. And I haven't actually taken a look at this. They called it Team 1 in the correct place. Yes, they do. So the user interface is correct. This is Team 1 up here at the top. This is Team 2 down here at the bottom. I thought they automatically got rid of that little menu bar thing up there, but maybe not. Not in it as such at the moment. Let's take a look at Team 1 first of all. Rearguard air position in breast cancer awareness pink. We have Legiona. Sounds very exotic. Going Seraphim. Opening first and second land. Down here next up at the cliffs in baby blue, we have Phantom Legion. He's not going to spell it the correct way because he's funky. And he's also going Seraphim, opening first land there. Next up at the causeway up front, we have Manred, who's going to go Cybrin in his customary fecal brown. What other colour should a Cybrin be after all? And he is opening first land. And last but not least there for Team 1 up at the beach, we have McKiz, and he is going UEF. How very handsome he looks in his Volvo beige. And opening first land, going second air. So that's Team 1 with 2 Seraphim, a Cybrin, and a UEF. Let's take a look at Team 2 down here at the bottom. Rearguard air position. First of all, it's Turin Chiramba. He's going to go UEF in his mellow yellow, opening first land, going second air. Next up at the cliffs in lurid green, we have T, lots of underscores, a B, and then lots more, and then an AMD. So I'm just going to call him T-Band. I have no idea what that is supposed to be. T-Band is going Aeon in lurid green, opening first air. Next up at the front on the causeway, already well on his way to the middle, it's Good Morning Dave. It's the HAL 9000, who incidentally, I apologize for missing off one of your zeros in the intro sequence, a little scrolling bar there in elephantine grey, well on his moves, hasn't really stuck around to do anything at his main base. He's going Cybran, open first land, and then just left, basically. The engineers can handle the rest. And last but not least, in Pontiff White, going Aeon, opening first air, going second land. It's Fluffy Kittens. How very adorable. So we have two Aeon there, a Cybran, and a UEF are back there for Turin Chiramba there for Team 2. First bomber or early bomber out there for Fluffy Kittens, not living up to his namesake tools, going straight out, all out aggression, looking for some vulnerable NGs, heading straight up there. Looks like he's going to pick on Legiona first of all. Gets the bomb away. Legiona not hanging around on that portion of the map to offer up any micro escape. He's going to lose that NG and might lose another one here as well. That bomb just straying wide, but the AoE doing enough to kill it off. So first blood there to Team 2, and Manred and HAL 9000 have met each other in the middle. This is going to be a slightly dull affair as they scoop up as much mass as they can possibly grab, while simultaneously taking pot shots at one another. You guys know the drill. Cybran on Cybran. A lot of mass still to grab. HAL 9000 sitting on around 9,000 hit points. Manred on about 9,150. Very little to choose between these two. Slight advantage for Manred, perhaps. We'll take a look in just a second to see who has got the better of the reclaim. And a nice little run by there from HAL 9000, getting a whole bunch of hunters in past Manred's forward position and heading towards the back of the map. However, it has been spotted. We've got a mole and a mantis pursuing that, but they're going to break off that pursuit, and that will allow HAL 9000 to get deeper into Team 1's territory and possibly cause some damage up here to some of the roaming engineers for Legiona. He has decided to pursue once again, but has allowed him critically a little bit more leeway. Back to the middle as these two ACUs open up on each other once again. Mass accrued so far, looking significantly better for Team 1 than it does for Team 2. 28k to 22, or 29 to 23, so pretty sizable advantage there for the first 4.5 minutes in this game. HAL 9000 now rolls in with an engineer and has a few units nearby that he can call on in a pinch as well. Manred dipping into the yellow now finds himself a little bit surrounded here. 9000 looking very comfortable indeed and is now proceeding to block Manred's statistically likely route out of danger. Lots of wall sections going down. Very nice play indeed from HAL 9000, who's got Manred below 4,000 hit points and falling. We are getting some reinforcements coming in for Manred now, but HAL 9000 looking very comfortable indeed. It's going to be close whether or not Manred can make it to safety underneath the waves, down below 1,500 hit points now. He makes it into the water, and I think he's just about going to get away. But good work from HAL 9000, shoos Manred away, and that will yield control of the center of the map for the time being to Team 2. So very nice work there indeed. Let's take a look at what our air players are doing. We're getting upgrades on the ACU, and we've gone straight for T2 Air Factory there. No surprises at all on that one. T2 power for Team 2's air player meanwhile, and we are also currently working on the upgrade there on the Air Factory. Meanwhile, Fluffy Kittens having a few issues contending with Phantom Legion's pressure down here at the bottom right. He's managed to get a Selen on the ground now, which is harassing some of the mass points down here. Won't be too long though before Fluffy Kittens has a factory online. But it actually looks like an air factory he's building. I could have that wrong from the icon. It's hard to see, but either way, it's going to be a while before it gets there. I think he might end up losing that last mass extractor, so not a brilliant job defending that coastline for the time being from Fluffy Kittens, although we'll let him off because he was the aggressor right at the beginning. First chap to draw first blood in this game against Legiona. I think it's relatively quiet now. Taking another look at mass totals, Team 1 still in the lead, 52 to 47 at current reading. Of course, changing all the time. Game quality, incidentally, pretty well balanced, 96% in this one, so expect a reasonable level of competition between these two guys, or these two teams, I should say. Not a huge amount of naval production going on at all. A couple of scout planes out for Legiona, working in around the back of Chirin Chiramba's base, who's getting an upgrade. He's already got the T2 engineering suite on board. Fluffy Kittens exclaiming profanity in the local chat. Classy guy as always. And he's gone for the T3 engineering suite. Completes the T2 air factory upgrade. What's going on up here? So we've got a transport on the way there for Legiona, who's also got T2 engineering suite on his commander and is on another upgrade as well. I'm just wondering if we couldn't have something interesting here. If that pops up at T3, we could have a bit of a double comm drop situation on the cards. And there we go. So that is a T3 comm and a T2 transport inside the first 10 minutes. That will usually mean just one thing. Excuse the Facebook alerts going off in the background there. Incredibly annoying. We're working on Janus at the moment, and that's because the T2 transport has been completed. That Starlifter has Chirin Chiramba's ACU on board, so this could be very interesting indeed. Chirin Chiramba already on his way up towards Team 1's side of the map, and meanwhile Legiona off in the other direction as well. So it's a double comm drop, both air players going for an assault on the opposing team at exactly the same time. Both going to land, or should land, within 10 minutes. So this is good, solid early pressure from both of these players. Nice early aggression, always welcome here at Guilecast. And I'm just trying to get a handle on where he's going. So it looks like Chirin Chiramba is making a play for Legiona, and Legiona is going to return the favor. You can see that drop-off point right the way inside Chirin Chiramba's base. So there's only one thing for it. We are going to have to go to split screen in the clunkiest fashion I can manage and watch these two come in. So Chirin Chiramba makes it in overhead. There is the odd ISIL kicking about, mobile anti-air, but not enough flak to cause any problems for the Starlifter. Chirin Chiramba will make landfall nice and easily. Meanwhile, Legiona inbound has an even easier ride. Absolutely nothing firing back at the transport. That is going to offload the comm at full health. Chirin Chiramba immediately starts work on the obligatory T1 PD. Legiona does the same, albeit fires off an overcharge, a complimentary overcharge for good measure as soon as possible. Kills off some of the engineers, of which there are a lot, so he wants to be careful he doesn't get outmaneuvered on the T1 PDs. You've got to fancy Chirin Chiramba's chances more, just purely on a racial basis. That UEF point defense versus the Seraphim. You would usually give it for UEF, but this both seems to be very, very early on. Both have committed fully to the drop and don't have a great deal left to fend off the other's attack. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw a complete base trade here. Bullthus out for Legiona, trying to stifle this comm drop from Chirin Chiramba, but he will be successful in getting the shield gen online. He's lost the first few point defenses, the first few defensive emplacements, but now the shield gen's online. That should give him enough lead on getting more railguns in place to cut down the relentless spam now coming in, not just from Legiona, but also the T1 bombers coming up from McKiz. Legiona, conversely, having a much easier ride of things. Absolutely nothing coming his way at all. Compare that to what's coming Chirinchiramba's way. We've now got Zuis heading up there from Phantom Legion. We've got more T1 bombers coming across from McKiz, and of course build capacity has made it out in sufficient numbers for Legiona to keep him in the game on this section of the field. Suppose we do have a decent amount of NGs in place down here for Chirinchiramba as well, so he will be able to maintain a presence and potentially fire back at Legiona, but there's just nothing coming from Team 2 to pressure Legiona at all. It's like, yeah, you can have that. We're not going to try and stifle it at all. Compare that to the ride that Chirinchiramba's getting. In fact, there's so little now going on in this other drop zone. I think we can go back to full screen and take a look at Chirinchiramba. First of all, we'll stop off in the middle to see how Manrid and HAL 9000 are getting along. And actually, this section of the map has turned on its head. It's Manrid who is in the ascendancy. HAL 9000 finds himself pretty well isolated and facing large numbers of forces and an advancing healthy commander in Manrid, who is now up over 10,000 points with that T2 engineering suite on board. Back to Chirinchiramba up at the top right-hand corner, who's under serious pressure from the air still. Still can't quite manage to get a solid foothold here. Lots of Zuis rolling in from the south. Phantom Legion throwing away T1 artillery, all in the best intention of keeping Chirinchiramba as occupied as possible. Lots of triads online, lots of railguns, but he can't seem to keep the shield gens online, and these triads in a bad way over here. A couple of them down below 300 HP. A lot of mass around here to be scooped up for Chirinchiramba if he can ever find a moment's peace to do that. He's built a couple of land factories. One of them has been destroyed. Third one there never got completed. A couple more being queued up, but there's so much continuous T1 spam coming his way. And now we've got a new T2 land HQ for Legiona, who's currently producing mobile missile launchers and sending them up towards that drop zone. That will be tough to fend off. Meanwhile, we're starting to get the odd unit coming in from Chirinchiramba, but it really is just the odd unit. One solitary Lobo rolling in there immediately succumbs to some T2 PD fire. And astonishingly, despite the amount of diversion this drop has created, the amount of spam, the extra factories that have had to been thrown up here for Phantom Legion to help gouge out this cancer for Team 1 up at the top, still Fluffy Kitten's not seemingly able to capitalize in the bottom ponds. Might potentially be gaining some ground now, but not getting anywhere. Of course, Seraphim versus Aeon in any kind of water fight is generally going to go in one direction. HAL 9000 holding his own, trying to hold that position in the center, throwing down a radar to get a little bit more intel. Just a scary place to be though up here, and I like the way that Legiona has parked his mobile missile launchers on the ridge there. We've got Ravagers in that main base now, and they're just picking off the ones they can see, but these ones are safe over the brow of the hill and still in a position where they can fire their missiles back at that base. The odd mech marine rolling out for Chirinchiramba, trying to put pressure on the Zuis. Got to keep microing it if he's going to keep it out of harm's way. Back down the bottom, we've got Mercies coming in now from Fluffy Kitten, going after Legiona, who has been hit, I think, a couple of times. 7,600 hit points left on that com, and the shield about to be depleted as well, but there's now a lot of Tech 1 anti-air in the area, so that might be the end of that little strat. They could kill off Legiona now. They would be sitting pretty with Chirinchiramba up here at the top, who's looking, well, I was about to say looking a little bit more comfortable, but I'm not sure he is. Just can't seem to contend now with the volume of mobile missiles that's coming his way. He hasn't got any tactical missile defense in this base. If he had it at any time, it's been destroyed. Trying to get the shields online. He's upgraded his commander to the onboard tactical missile launcher so he can fire back at these mobile missile launchers, taking out 2 there. It is a costly way to deal with them, but it's about all he's got at the moment, short of rolling that ACU out and dealing with them in person with that gun. But things could be about to get interesting now. TBMD has, or TBAMD has transitioned to Tech 3 land and is now rolling forward with some Serenities. Tech 3 artillery, about to say, doesn't have any ground support to fend off the THAM threat, but in comes a Harbinger and one-shots that tank, says thank you very much. And Legiona actually rolling out to try and shoo them away in person. And the spam, the T1 bomber spam that's been continuously heading in towards Chirinchiramba has been redirected by McKiz and sent off to attack T-Bammed. And is having some success with the build capacity that's assisting the T3 factory that's pumping out the Harbingers now and sending them against Legiona. Legiona is he working on a new forward position. A couple of Harbingers have scooted in around the back of that base. Manred looking pretty comfortable in the middle next to HAL 9000. Chirinchiramba has strolled out of that main base. He felt compelled to do so. That ACU needs to keep moving though. Lots of Zuis around here, mobile missile launchers that could turn on him in an instant, and it's a precarious position to be in. He doesn't want to lose unnecessary hit points at this point, and he's trying to get some Tech 1 PD online. Of course, the problem is it's a very hilly area of the map, and typically point defense doesn't fare too well in those situations. McKiz now inbound with his ACU. And the main base is in absolute pieces. Just 3 land factories remain. There goes one, down to 2 now. All of the defensive structures have been destroyed, and Chirinchiramba finds himself completely isolated and in big, big trouble. Down now to 6,000 hit points. McKiz quickly throws down a plasma cannon and another to try and take off as many hit points as possible. Chirinchiramba now in full retreat. Let's take a look at what's happening down here at the bottom. Not a great deal. Legiona sitting under that shield, but needs to be careful. Harbingers building up further north. Meanwhile, back up at the top. Chirinchiramba in full flight now. McKiz has lost a chunk of his HP, but with that T3 engineering suite is still sitting pretty well and comfortable on 12,500 hit points. Chirinchiramba on half that. Needs to be very careful indeed, and I don't really see any way out of this. There's no way he's going to scoot another star lifter in here, and I don't think he has one anyway, not that I can see. I don't know what happened to the one earlier. It must have been shot down on its way back to the main base. Chirinchiramba, now it is just a game of chance how long he can stay alive. He's got to cause as much disruption to Team 1 as is humanly possible. He's surely going down here. Taking a look on the mini-map, what's happening down there in the bottom. It's like tactical missile launchers being launched. In fact, we're going to have to pause and go out to split screen to keep an eye on these two areas, because Legiona now has Harbingers rolling in on him. And if we go back up here at the top, Chirintiramba is in a very sticky situation indeed. 4,500 hit points deep into the red, and 7 shades of poo heading his way in the form of beige Zuis and mobile missile launchers from Legiona. Legiona, meanwhile, standing next to his T2 P-Gen as that goes up in smoke, taking extra unnecessary damage. The shield gen is down, overcharging into the Harbingers to try and kill them off as quickly as possible. Chirintiramba trying to do the Setons shuffle and stay alive as long as he can, but it's not going to matter, and it's not going to matter for Legiona either, who is going to go down just before 20 minutes, and I don't think Chirintiramba is going to last much longer either, but he is going to get a sneaky rank in vet there. We're going to go back to full screen to get the volume on this battle, because it's just not the same without it. Mobile missiles coming in, and there he goes about 8 to 9 seconds later. So both air players for both teams out of commission at almost exactly the same time, but unfortunately, of course, it is a Setons game, which means, of course, full share is on, and as such, a few ferries will have to die from terminal flatulence, and that actually does change the complexion of the game somewhat. It is not even by any stretch of the imagination. This base that has been constructed by Legiona transfers over to Manrid, who's already in a pretty comfortable position on the causeway, and Team 1 will also be able to just move in and scoop up Chirintiramba's old drop zone as well. So definite advantage now lying with Team 1. And of course, as we said earlier, in amongst all of that, Fluffy Kitten has not been able to capitalize in the bottom pond, and a slightly different situation, a scenario in the top pond. It does look as though T-Bamd has made some progress. There goes the last naval factory in the main harbor area there for McKiz. But it's all Tech 1 stuff, and they're now under pressure from the skies. Those Storks, those torpedo bombers, picking off those naval units, and they're doing so from a position of relative safety. There's nothing in the air now for Team 2. And we saw those Vespers rolling out. I thought that might have been a breakaway point for McKiz, but he's now being overwhelmed by a combination of frigates, destroyers, and a sub-hunter as well. So Phantom Legion comfortably a Tech 3 Navy. So I don't want to call things before they happen, but you would fancy Phantom Legion to take control of the bottom pond now, and with Manrid in position of the air position at the back for Team 2, it looks like this game could only be headed in one direction now. Very surprised the battle went the way it did on the causeway after that opening. HAL 9000 seemed like he was pretty comfortable early on. He is giving up 100-odd global ranking points to Manrid, but that really isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. Would have been interesting perhaps to see what went wrong on that causeway, but there was just too much happening with the two comm drops. It would have been impossible to keep track for any protracted period of time what was going on in the middle of the map there. Wave of Volthus out for Manred, picking off T2 mass extractors belonging to T-Bamd, who pops out of the pond back here and starts work on some flak. Also rolls in with a couple of ascendants as well, so those Volthus aren't going to be able to get anything done in this portion of the map. Fluffy Kitten needs to roll that cruiser forward and start putting some pressure on Manrid's Causeway forces, who have built a hefty navy up in that top pond to help stifle the pressure coming out from T-Bammed. Kiz has been having to contend with, had to put all of his energies into defeating Turin Taramba's drop zone, his base up at the top, and as such, and he couldn't contend properly with the ocean spam in his pond, but certainly that's an issue he doesn't have to worry about anymore, dealing with it comfortably with torpedo bombers. Not going to be able to press too far forward just with that tactic. We are now seeing some cruisers rolling out from T-Bammed, who is actually the highest rated player left in this game now on 1700. The other two 1700s, Legiona and Turin Taramba, both evicted. And Fluffy Kittens has donated everything over to HAL 9000, and there is now GG's going out all round, so it looks like Team 2 could be on the verge of capitulation here. It certainly looks like this is a bit of a suicide run from Fluffy Kittens. His 9 lives are up. Heading on to the proverbial road to get squished by the Seraphim articulated lorry of Phantom Legion. And that will represent, I'm sure, the end of this one. A short one, but a sweet one. Always partial to comm drops, especially when they happen at the same time on two different teams. Nice tac missile barrage there from HAL going after Manrid's engineers down here, which are working on a Monkey Lord. A few of them will connect and he'll take out quite a few engineers there, but it's not going to cause any major problems on the production of that experimental. And of course, when that experimental is built, if the game is still going, HAL 9000 will surely have to back up out of there. He's got lots of T2 PD, but they are just Cerberus turrets. Be more effective if the Sirens got out there with their pea shooters and flung stones at it. And there goes the Monkey Lord. That is now complete. Attack missiles still being fired from HAL 9000's forward base. Stinging back with what he's got, but it isn't a lot. The forward base that was donated to him from Fluffy Kitten has been overrun by Zoes and gunships belonging to Manrid, and there goes the Control K from HAL 9000. What structures he has got, he donated over to T-Bammed. And there goes T-Bammed as well. So full capitulation from Team 2. I know it's a short one. You guys were probably seeing a Setons game and getting excited. I am still kind of avoiding the bid games. Not consistently, but certainly not leaning towards them as much as I was previously, because we're still getting that stutter lag issue, so I'm trying to keep it under half an hour, 35 minutes of the custom 4v4s. I am thinking about investing in a new processor soon, so hopefully that will rectify the issue. But I hope you enjoyed that, guys. As always, more to come from me in the future, albeit at a slightly reduced rate during the summer holidays. You know how it is, but I hope to be a little bit more present than I have been over the last couple of weeks. But as I say, hope you enjoyed it. More to come from me in the future. Don't forget, guys, if you feel so inclined, you can support me on Patreon. But until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.